What is going on, YouTube family? Welcome back to another live stream of Vibe Coding, an app, agentic development, I'd like to call it. Um, Looks like the sound is good. I know yesterday we had some sound problems. But if you're new here, if this is your first time viewing this series, essentially you are going to be alongside me as I build applications. Right now we're building a tool for small businesses to use, and it's called Open Enterprise. So I'm just going to kind of keep it raw, uncut. This is a unedited experience. Excuse me. But yeah, we're building applications, and there's really no formula to this. It's quite simple. Nothing really informative here. Just watching me work, and I'll talk to you about some of the things that I'm considering and what I'm looking at. Um, let's start here. I launched my application that I built a couple days ago. Let me pull it up for you guys. And price. And so this is what we are building. Share my screen, bear with me. Okay, doke. So this is the this is what we're going to primarily be focusing on at the moment for this series. We were building, if you were with us or with me in some of the older live streams, we're building a design tool. We're going to table that. We're going to come back to that. But right now, what we're focusing on is building this is an agentic platform where small businesses can launch, or even entrepreneurs rather, can launch autonomous companies. And, we are built off of the OpenClaw repo. That's sort of the engine, right? And I mean, you may ask, well, why can't I just go and install OpenClaw and use it myself? And you totally can. And actually, I encourage you to, but it's important to realize that if that is, your desire, you probably are not, more than likely not my customer, right? We are essentially building, I would say, the future platform. We're building the standard platform of how agentic companies will work and will run. And underneath this, the hood, yes, we do have OpenClaw, but we do have other frameworks, other proprietary code that we are implementing on top of this layer. So it's just not OpenClaw, but we have some other things that we've discovered. And our main focus is this idea of the agentic organization. Now, a lot of tools out there today, they're really focused on this idea of you have an agent, you prompt it to do one thing, and then it does that one thing. I believe that's great, but what really makes these agents powerful is how do they work together in an organization without that human bottleneck. And so Open Enterprise is our exploration of that. And what makes this a really unique tool, unlike anything else on the market, is the experience you get within our application. You see, most tools out there today feel like a version of ChatGPT where you talk to your agent and you have it do the thing you need it to do, whether that's emails or marketing or Slack follow-ups. We wanted to structure Open Enterprise as like a command center to run your small business, whether it's a startup, even to the level of enterprise, right? We're not really focused on enterprise customers at the moment, but our idea is you come in open enterprise and you manage your business from a bird's eye view, not you go into the tool and you tell an agent to do the one thing and then it does it, right? Because that's not how businesses work. Businesses are much more complex. There's a level of complexity and nuances inside of a company. Things work together. It's like a spider web. It's very rare that it's linear or siloed. And so that's what makes us different. And also what makes us different is we have our own, like I said, frameworks that we're applying. We're exploring this concept of agentic discipline. Just to kind of tease on that, if you want to learn more about that, you can go check out agenticfounder.org. It's my live research journal. So our tool, I would say, is far superior in a lot of ways. And this wouldn't be possible without OpenClaw. So I have to definitely pay my dues and my respects to that, because the fact that that tool is open source, it allowed people like me to build and be creative and take it to the next level. You'll see a lot of these tools pop up, and a couple of them have started to hit the market. They're just wrappers, right? And I think those are great. There's a purpose for those, but they're missing the point. And that point that they're missing is, what does an agentic organization look like and how does that work, right? What is that? What happens with those agents inside of an agentic framework? Do they continuously update? Are they able to schedule their own tasks and create their own meetings and push the business forward to your metrics, right? Not just call a tool, implement that tool, and then bring back the results. I think those are very elementary. And so I also encourage you guys that when you build stuff, there's a lot of noise out there, and it's probably easy to get discouraged. Like, hey, I'm building a SaaS tool. Like, there's 100 other SaaS tools, but the reality of it is it doesn't matter, right? What matters is, can you find your pocket of people that like what you build and you're serving them well, and that's all that matters. And don't worry about competition, because your competition isn't the YC startup that's been funded $60 million or the new VC company backed, right? The competition is your competition is the status quo, right? What does that mean? Who cares if they're using some YC startup or if they're using some competitor of yours? What you are trying to prove is that the status quo, um, that your client or your customer is currently doing, is not enough. It's not enough to be. It's not enough for them to use that to stick with doing the same old methods, right? And this is aside from AI. Um, like, for example, there was a time when most businesses did not have a website. Them not having a website, that was the status quo. Because they felt that their business was in the yellow pages, and so that was good enough. So the people back then who were web designers, web developers, their competition was fighting that. So you can look at my tool and you can say, hey, this already exists. That's fine. But that's not what matters, right? Um, if this only existed, that would be a problem. Competition is good, but I'm focused on building the best platform for entrepreneurs, startups, young companies who want to build a truly agentic organization. And so we are working through this here. It's at a mature state, and I would say, that was probably my bad, not really showing you guys the process from how I started to where I am today. And that's just because I am a builder designer first, but the beauty of software is you can always iterate and improve on that. And so you guys are just going to kind of meet me at chapter 10. But just to give you an idea of where this idea came from, this was at the sort of the highlight, I would say, of OpenClaw and just everything that was kind of surrounding that. And what I identified was there's a huge barrier for just normal people to implement OpenClaw or even Claw code for that matter. Now, these are all great tools and they're fantastic, but my goal was like, how do I make that barrier a lot less of a friction point? And so I came up with this idea, and obviously it's not an original idea, but it was original to me. Well, what if we created an environment where people can deploy these open claws? Um, they can deploy them in a way that's safe, secure, but also it has a very almost inviting UI user interface, and it has a very frictionless experience. And so that's what this manifested into. And I'm going to show you just how that started with with where we're at. So the idea here, and I'm just showing you the product raw in the flesh. But I came up with this concept of like gamifying business, right? Gamification. And how do we enable this powerful open cloud tool, which is an open source repo? How do we empower that or empower the entrepreneur or the startup to use this tool and to use it with a few clicks without any issues? And that's how I came up with Open Enterprise. Now, um, Open Enterprise was developed out of my love for just video games, ease, gamification. And so what we do is, so the first part of this application is it takes you to immediately launch your company, right? You come to Open Enterprise to launch your company, to build a company that runs itself. And we call ourselves the operating system for agentic businesses, right? And then we have this one goal, this one mission is to create 1 million entrepreneurs. So this is important because as you build applications, I can easily hop into Cursor and spin up a bunch of agents, but I'm trying to help you guys think about design and consider design and think about or give you visibility into how I'm thinking about building stuff, because we're in an age where it's a lot easy to build anything. You can build anything that you can think of. And so what stands you apart, I believe ultimately will determine the winners and the losers. So if you can build a product that's beautiful, that solves a problem, you will be far ahead. And I have some value dropping today or tomorrow. It's a great video about agentic design. So make sure to check that out. So I immediately approach a problem from a UI lens, from a product development lens, because my goal is to reduce friction. So when you come to Open Enterprise, what the my thesis was my thesis was OpenClaw should be able to be launched in less than 60 seconds. And how do we do that, right? So we started off as OpenClaw as sort of the core, right? The heartbeat at first. And just going to give you some insight into the infrastructure. And I highly advise you guys to explore and build off of OpenClaw. It's an open source repo. So, if you want to build something like this, do it. Build your own version. I don't care, right? That's not the point. The point isn't to gatekeep. And just to give you some context, everyone talks about Cursor, right? Cursor this, Cursor that, Cursor this. I use Cursor every day. Cursor is a fork of VS Code, which is a open source IDE tool. So it it doesn't take my point is it doesn't take away from your ideas or from your business if you build off of something, and that's the beauty of open source development. But you also want to add your own twist to it. So anyway, after noticing how difficult it is to set up an OpenClaw instance, and quite frankly, I work in developing developer tools all day, every day, and I don't mind them, but I know most people do not know what the heck they're looking at when they see a terminal. They don't even know what a CLI is. Then you want to ask them to paste a single line of code into this terminal and then connect API keys. That is a bunch of friction. And so that to me was an aha moment where I was like, okay, this is cool. The other thing too is at the time when I discovered OpenClaw, a lot of it was just being used for these. I mean, one could say they're elementary use cases. In a way they are, but it's very special and unique discovery at the time. But I wanted something more than just someone who can an agent that can just talk to me on Telegram or answer emails. It's when you take that, combine it with the ability to research, combine that with the ability to you know, make a pull request or to submit code, push code to the main branch, or to track my social media. All of that really was interesting to me because a lot of those components is what makes up a business. And so the goal with Open Enterprise was how do I allow people to deploy this in under 60 seconds? And so that question, what that brought me to was the onboarding experience. Now, a lot of you guys probably have apps, and the apps that do really well are the apps that have tremendous onboarding experiences. So I really wanted to focus on the onboarding experience. And I wanted it to feel like a video game because for me, I'm building the tool for the future entrepreneur. And I want this to be an all encompassing platform for agentic businesses, right? Think about how Stripe is for ecom. I want to be that, but bigger for, agentic entrepreneurship. You have plugins, we have a marketplace and all that. So the beautiful thing here is with this thesis, how to deploy in under 60 seconds, that brought me to my user onboarding experience. Now, I wanted to keep that experience super, super light, but fun. And so I thought about this. And the way I came up with this was I didn't just tell AI to build me this tool, but I really did research. I dug deep. I established some clarity in my ideas, and I was intentional about every little design, every little aspect of this. So this is the onboarding flow. And I highly recommend that if you're building something, take a page from different different industries, right? If you have other interests, those interests of yours can really help improve your software tool if that's what you decide to build. For me, it was gaming. For me, it was video games. I love video games occasionally. When I get a spare time or two, I'll play a game. But also the nostalgia, right? The idea of this kind of 8-bit. So the first motif that stuck to my brain was like 8-bit, 8-bit character, 8-bit this, 8-bit that. And so this is this 8-bit look, like pixelated look. And then I lucked out and I landed Open Enterprise. I tell people if you can, um, for me, I like starting with the brand and the logo. People will say, "Oh, don't waste your time on that," but it's really whatever works for you. But I highly encourage you to spend a lot of time on the brand, on the logo, on the color before you build anything, because what it does is it allows you to visualize what this could be, what your idea could be, right? Don't spend too much time on it. It's easy to just get lost and spend way too much time on the logo and the brand. This stuff comes natural to me because professionally I did this for years. I have over 10, 15 years of design experience. But if you have a concept, one, check out my agentic design video that's dropping. You'll love that. That'll help you bring your concept to idea, from concept to an actual product. But don't spend too much on time on it. And so for me, it was this concept of 8-bit. The next thing is like I wanted this idea. What I kept hearing floating around was mission control, and mission control is very, very like very game related. But what mission control is it's a buzzword, but it works. It takes you to your dashboard essentially. So I wanted to be different. Rather than say log in, I wanted to say mission control. Like you're going into your mission control, you're gonna launch your enterprise. So if you're already an existing user, part of my onboarding flow is you click this, it takes you straight to your dashboard where you can manage your agents. You can see things from a high level. The next was launch your company, and so I wanted this to feel super gamified. So when a user clicks launch their company, also before I click this, pay attention to the subtleties, right? So these are called micro animations, and as you build software, you want to think about these things because one thing that can make designs go from feeling flat and from feeling just kind of just static and AI sloppish is adding micro animations, adding movement to your design. So this is it's super simple, but it pulls you in, it draws you in, right? So that's just something that I wanted to highlight here. So it was deploy in under 60 seconds was the thesis. And so this is what our goal was. So I immediately let you launch a company. There's no barrier, there's no book a demo, there's no talk to sales. I really wanted to go completely opposite of the current ethos in SaaS. And you're gonna have to do that too with your application because every application is it looks the same. So pull from ideas that only you have and that are unique to you and surface this in your design. And especially if you're not a developer or a designer at all, and you're coming from a random industry, you have a huge advantage. And initially, you might be a little slow simply because you don't understand the tools. But if you come from an industry that's completely different and you want to come build something, you have an advantage because you have a level of knowledge, of expertise in a field that some 18-year-old from Stanford who just got to a VC round will never have. So that is your advantage, and use what your advantages are. So immediately we're removing friction. Now you'll see as a key theme for me is removing friction. You launch a company, right? And when you launch a company, my goal here with Open Enterprise was to put you in the driver's seat, right? We don't mention anything about AI agents. We don't even talk about that. The only thing we hint at in the beginning here is build companies that run themselves. So you're like, huh, okay. And then I give you a little taste. It's the operating system for agentic businesses. But we're not really talking about OpenClaw. We're not talking about agents, AI. We're not talking about workflows. We removed all that. We stripped it all away. And I'm serving it to you in a unique, creative way that you don't even like. The goal is like you don't even need to worry about how things work or what is OpenClaw or what is or Claude Code. Like, no, we're removing that. And so we immediately put you in this world where you're an open enterprise and you're about to launch. So the next step is you set your enterprise name. So we'll just call it Acme Corp. And then you pick your HQ style. And this was beautiful for me because I love the idea of picking where you start, right? It's similar like in Pokemon, you pick one of your starting Pokemon, right? And to be clear, like we do have future concepts to kind of build these out, but this is more symbolic than anything. This is more symbolic than anything. Then you click continue. We require you to define your mission because at the end of the day, you are building a company and every company should have some sort of mission statement. So whether it's drive revenue, right? Click continue. And then we set this up to where we have a bunch of industries for you to choose from. And this is just, it feels like, oh man, this is cool, right? Let me pick an industry. So you can come in here, and our goal is for our platform to support any industry. Now, what's unique about these is that whatever you pick, um, at the end of the day, it it doesn't matter, right? Because it's up to you what kind of business you want to run. But we wanted to make sure that whatever you pick, the launch or the actual CEO that you get and the team that initially gets deployed is specific to your industry. So we'll go ahead and select healthcare. Um, and then we added this layer of choosing your CEO. And this is sort of our anchor, right? Because if you're building an enterprise, you need a CEO to run that thing. And through understanding how the current agent landscape is, you know that if you're new here, this will probably new to you, but what you'll see is there's this idea of skills, right? Skills, and then other things like personas, right? And each agent that's built in OpenClaw has these I think it's like it has a soul, a heartbeat, and a couple other things I can't think of off the top of my head. So ideally, these are a combination of cron jobs, um, tonality defining, personality defining, character defining, or character shaping for your agent. And so what we knew was like that's an essential part of agents, and it is, right? Because you're going to be working with this agent, you don't want to just feel like binary zeros and ones and have no sort of personality and soul. So we took it a step further, and so you pick your agent, you name him, call Hal, and Testing, testing, testing. All right, we're back. Sorry, the computer died. All right, so we were back. Can you guys, if you guys can hear me, let me know. Let me know. All right, so let's hop back into this. We need to share a screen. All right, so as I was saying, so we leverage Open Router to give people access to unlimited models, um, pretty much every model available to known to man. So as a user, you can come out here and you can pretty much use up all your tokens that go with your plan, which we recommend. We also have agent voice here, but and then you can come in once you've used up all your, the tokens you already get. You can bring your own keys if you want to get um, tokens at cost. And these are just simple as putting in your key here and then click and save key. So all this looks good. We're going to need to test this. Is it important right now? No, but the UI is working as intended. You turn that off and on. The other thing we need to look at is Web3 connection. So what you guys don't know is we were really about to turn up with Open Enterprise. So I think what we're going to see is a lot of, well, let me pause there. I think agents do really well when they have access to crypto. It's just money moves fast on blockchain. Like if you're on, depending on what blockchain, right? Obviously not Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? But Solana, AVAX, those. So we're bringing in Web3 support. So you can take your Web3 wallet, connect it to your agent, is the idea here. And your agent can collect payments, manage money, right? So I think that's a really cool feature. And so what we're leveraging here, Mask. So we have a MetaMask, and I think we want to try and support the Brave wallet integration too. So that's something that's cool. No one else is doing that. Like none of these YC startups are thinking about that. Like we want your organization to be fully autonomous. And yeah, you spin up a company, give your CEO, think about it. You spin up a company, you name your CEO, you define the mission, and then you connect that CEO to a Web3 wallet, to a MetaMask wallet, and he has his objectives. You talk it over what the goal is. Like if it's, let's say you are a consultant, the goal is to go out and get business, close those deals, right? He'll be able to spin up the team he needs to market, to generate leads, to close those leads, where then you can come in and step in and focus on the high intent activities. Now, disclaimer, there are a few things that I would say agents are just not good at with specific industries. And to me, that's like sales. Prospecting and lead gen, agents are good at, but closing a deal, we're getting there. But if you're running a company that there's just a level of human that needs to be involved there, maybe it's high ticket sales, an agent can't replace you. At least in my opinion, what I've seen out there today, an agent can't. Now you can't have an SDR agent, like I said, that can prospect leads, qualify leads, book appointments on your calendar. But in terms of the actual closing of the deal, um, I don't know if that's a powerful capability yet. But with the beautiful thing with Open Enterprise is if it gets to that point, you'll be able to do that inside of our tool. So Web3 integration. All right. Jeez, man. I'm having audio difficulties. Don't know why. All right. If you just joined us, we are just debugging. Sorry for the audio. It'll get better. The reality of it is you just got to show up every day, right? That is what you have to do. You got to show up every day. So we are debugging, and I've been talking without. All right. So we are debugging this tool that I've built called Open Enterprise. If you just now are joining us and kind of going through the UI, to, or not the UI, but the application to check for bugs. So the first bug that we have here is the first bug we identified here was the gross revenue card on the home screen was not properly connected to Stripe. So we have this initial experience. So this isn't working. This needs to connect to Stripe. And I can double check if it is. I can probably connect it to see. The other issue that we have is it's just another Stripe issue, and this could be a webhook thing. I believe this is like a webhook thing. Hello. Jeez. Hello. Hello. All right, there we go. All right, we're back. We are back. All right, so we're just doing a little debugging. We had some technical difficulties. All right, let me share the screen again with you guys so we can kind of go through these bugs. And we want to share this. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, we're good. All right. Add that to the stage. All right, cool. So we had some issues with Stripe that we have to address. So what I have here is Stripe wasn't accurately reflecting in that card on the home screen. So we call it the gross revenue card, and then the Stripe data is not reflecting or configured in the treasury, is not, we'll say, reflecting. Oh, and as I mentioned, I don't know if you guys caught this, if my mic was low or cut off or muted, but hold on. Is I'm currently just writing these down in my notes app. Um, that's just like whatever works for you. But we do have a tool in here, and the goal obviously is to um like have an agency or have a company that runs itself. So we have this feature in here called Workroom. And a workroom is pretty much how, as a product designer, product manager, rather, you have what's called your backlog. And that's where tickets come in, whether they're bugs, new features, and functionalities, and they live in this backlog. And throughout the process of you building an application, um, you, as a product manager, you groom your backlog and you put things, you rank things based on priority. So this works well for that, but this also works well for anything that you have that needs to be done, right? This works for that. This is also the same kind of setup for sales, like a sales pipeline. And so perhaps one feature we can kind of think about here is in Workroom, maybe you can create multiple Kanbans. So let's think about that. That's a feature we need to think about, because maybe you run a sales company, multiple Kanban boards, and you probably want a sales pipeline. So that is something that we can highlight, and we'll call that a feature. Is that important right now? No, not at all. But the cool thing is like I'll show you here in a minute, is like you can have the AI create custom dashboards for you. But anyway, so this is how work moves along in your application, depending on what your company does. And one big issue here is, see how these are squished. That's not what we want. We want these to be fully extended. So these should look like that, and you should scroll. They should have endless scrolls. So we need to make that. So that's a bug. We also mentioned Web3, so we need to do an integration check on Web3. Right now, we are working with MetaMask and Brave. So this issue is, we'll call this Kanban lanes. And squish or collapse. We'll say collapse cards when there is a lot. We do not want this. We do not want this to be squished. It just doesn't look good, right? So this is my UI eye, my UI design eye that's just picking this apart. But like you can't even read that, right? And this is the funny thing. People have these app factories and they're overlooking a lot of stuff. You know, you really want to be intentional and take your time. You want design to be good. So another thing I see here is we have this run button, and this is great, but this once again, this moves us away from that autonomy layer. So if I'm as a I as an entrepreneur have to come in to the workroom and I have to run each individual job, well, what's the point of open enterprise, right? So this is a flaw here, and we need to make sure that we get that fixed. Now, we should have the user should have the ability, right? The ability to manually run jobs, but we need the agent to do it. So run feature. We'll say run feature seems to take priority over jobs automatically. What's the autonomy? Okay, so for this particular thing, I have run feature seems to take priority over jobs automatically being ran. What's the autonomy or runtime logic here? So as I built this out, a lot of what makes these agents quote unquote autonomous is this this uh, this concept of runtime. So the runtime logic is part of what, from what I understand, is part of what makes these jobs get done autonomously, alongside some other things like heartbeat, right, which is a cron job. So we need to understand is every time something gets created, is it under this manual execution layer? So things can't move autonomously. So we need to understand that. So that's a bug we want to fix. But we also want to be careful not to completely omit or disable this functionality, because perhaps, excuse me, perhaps there is some guardrails here. So we want to be kind of conscious of that. So like I said, like as I'm going through this, it's easy to just spin up your agents and start coding and start building. But when you get to a good place in your application, become the user, right? Go inside your application and mess around with it and see how it's working. So we notice that this is a problem, right? So we got that. The other thing I don't like is this is a UI thing, but the horizontal scroll bar does not follow our design system. So some language you can use is, so this horizontal scroll bar doesn't follow our design system. And a design system is a structure of design styling that you have in your application that you want consistently used throughout the application. So I've told it many times, but this is the kind of scroll we want. You see how when I hover over here, that clean, kind of invisible gray, there's no white, and when you move off of it, it disappears. So this is hideous. It doesn't match the aesthetic. We wanted to have that same kind of design. So I added that. So that's enough with the workroom. Let's see. If we click agents, we gotta see how that works. Let me see. Create stick ads. Yeah. All right. The other thing is roadmaps. So when I looked at this the other day, and let's use this. Let's talk to our CEO. So let's show you what this looks like in action. Let's talk to our CEO. Okay. All right. So let's give our CEO a simple. All right. So this is our CEO we've been working with, and he's still not. Oh, another thing I noticed was all new industries weren't added. So I noticed that there's a few things I didn't show. So what we need to do is we need to double check our deployment. So I'm gonna just go ahead and do that real quick. We have a deployment. We just got to check the deployment here. So for deployments, we use Verso for the front end and then Render for the back end. And then we use hello. Hello. Yeah. So right now we're about to use Versal. I'm checking for um yeah, I'm checking for deployments. Yep. So just like I figured, I'll show you here. Yep, we have an error in our deployment. So let me go ahead and pull up cursor. Yeah, we do have a deployment error. So how did I know? Well, I had a bunch of updates and they didn't show. And so I assumed that the deployment was not a success. So right now I'm pulling up Cursor, and I'll share that with you in a minute. Just want to make sure we're chilling. Nothing crazy. So I'm gonna show y'all how I like to work. This workflow makes sense to me. So let's pull this up. So hello. All right, it's working. Okay. Trying to share my screen here. Hmm. 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 Let's see. Guess it's kind of hard to show you guys what I'm working on. Oh well. Well, the next one will be better. So I'm just gonna show you guys Open Enterprise. And then right now I'm switching over to Vercel. So I'm in Vercel right now. And I'm going to had a build fail. So I'm gonna copy those logs, paste those in. So put this in agent mode. So I had a bunch of skills that I had in the application that didn't get loaded into here. Damn, why can't I gotta figure out a way to share this with you so you see what I'm looking at. All right, little fun switcheroo while that's getting worked on. So we'll do a little come up, humble beginnings. So I'll show you guys what we're sitting at in terms of revenue for Open Enterprise. So this will be fun. And this will just show you like what it takes to build a SaaS company and to, you know, building in public is less about me showing off and it's more about me just displaying, what it takes. And honestly, a invite for open critiques. Okay, let's see. Sorry, guys. You guys have been kind of just looking at me, looking at nothing. So at least I'll put that up. Yo, I need to get a new computer. All right. So just so you know, the come up is real. All right. So this is the dashboard. So you guys are with me on day one, Open Enterprise, and we are at $50 MRR. So here we go. And I'll refresh this. So there's no cap. $50 MRR. Not bad. We all want it. We all want it, but this will be fun. This will be fun to watch us grow. So this is where we're at. Okay. This came in on March 17th. and we are on the 18th. So I got this yesterday. Spoiler alert, this was from one of my homies. He's a supporter of my work. So yeah. So we will leave that as that. So this is where we're at. Stripe dashboard. Okay. All right. So let's check on the code. I want to share. Maybe I'll just share the whole screen. Yeah. Let's see. All right. So you guys know I'm gonna just share the whole screen. All right. This is where I'm at right now. Let's see. Let me hide some stuff just so. Yeah, you guys are good, man. I gotta. So bookmarks. All right, we should be good here. Okay. All right, guys. So we are. So I had some skills. So I had that deployment error. New line save patch. So I had a build break. It says building the build break and install skill replacement. Yes, this is what. Target. So I'm a little slow. That's why I don't like to have 20 freaking agents. I'm trying to learn as we go. So the last deployment broke because it noticed some E2017 rejects S flag is illegal in TypeScript. So this was the issue. I'm swapping those expressions for new line save variants so behavior stays the same without changing compiler target. So we want to know. skills. So I just want to know what makes those patterns illegal and how it impacts installing skills. And if you want to, so while this is pulling that up, we are going to share something else. Yeah, so this is what we want. That's what we want here. All right, so what it was doing was, as a new skill is installed, it would block that skill from being installed based off of these patterns it was trying to catch. And it would only install a skill if these particular patterns were true. But the problem is this could create a false positive because the mentioning of these particular patterns could be in the markdown component of the said file. So it was a blunt safety filter. So yeah, it's good at blocking obviously dangerous instructions. It can still produce false positives. So we want to go ahead and redesign this audit so it's less prone to false positives on documentation while blocking truly dangerous content. So let's do that. And then let's put that in agent mode. Let's go ahead and send that. I'm using GPT 5.4. I switch between Claude. So we want that. The next thing we want to address is we want to look at so we want to look here. So let's hop back in our application and let's pull up the conversation we had with our CEO. So this is the CEO of Open Enterprise, and so I have him doing a few things. So let's see where he's at. He says input English. So let's just ask him what the update of his status is. So he's should be working on these outputs. So we'll see. What is actually I want to talk it. What is the update on your status for these items that you said you were working on? All right, there we go. Got another bug. Dictation tool is not working properly. So let's go ahead and put that in. Dictation is not working at all inside of channels and stand ups. Okay. So we'll just type this. So we'll say, what is the status of completion? So we'll send that to him. All right. So what is the status of completion? Current status effectively 0% complete on the actual system changes, aside from agreeing the operating model and stating the plan chat was done. So the honest answer is the real work has not been executed yet. If you want, I'll fix that now and move in this order. It's kind of funny. Yeah, you've been in planning mode. So this is cool. Like, this is how businesses run. So we've been having this conversation, and just to kind of bring it home, when I first created my first company inside of Open Enterprise, like I said, my goal was to hire my own Open Enterprise CEO to manage Open Enterprise, to hire a team, and to facilitate all the workings that need to go down, all the things. And so as I worked with him into being able to do things, we've come up across bugs, right? And the main goal is to your agents is for main goal for me is to make sure your agents, when you have an Open Enterprise account, have access to all of these tools inside of Open Enterprise, because this will help you this will allow your team to manage the company effectively. And then the layer 2 of that is adding in skills, adding in access to tools. So right now we're really kind of tightening up this layer 1. Like, I should be able to tell him to create a calendar event that happens every Monday for a stand up with him in marketing, and he should be able to do that. So that's kind of where we're at. We're tightening up this layer 1. And so I'm going to say, So we just had them get out of planning mode. Now, to give you guys some architectural insight into how this is built. So every time a new company is created, we have what's called a container. We create a container, and that container is its own OpenClaw instance, right? So that is how it's built. So, and in that instance, you have your agents. What's nice about this is, and this is if anyone's trying to, if you come across SaaS out there, and if any of that SaaS is calling themselves a claw variation, this is essentially what they're doing. It's just a containerized version of OpenClaw. So what we're doing is we spin up a container for you or for your company, but how you interact with that claw agent is different, right? We have a different approach here. So we structured it in a way that you have it in this sort of enterprise kind of environment, this company environment where you have your CEO, you can hire new agents to do just about anything. We take the element of like, Claw Hub where you have all the skills and all the tools. We give that to you, packaged up in a way where you can just go ahead and implement those into your agents. And then as you give them tools, they can go out and do stuff for you for your business. Now, the cool thing about this is because it's in the cloud, it's off of your device. So if you're worried about safety, it's innately safe, right? It's only as dangerous as like what you give it access to do, but there's always security patches, security updates. All of our skills and personas are audited, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you set it up in a way where it has its own email, its own number, its own access, you can really mitigate the um, the safety concerns. So it looks like he just finished up here, and we're gonna go see. We're gonna go see what he said. So if we go back, all right. So it looks like he did some work. So this is executing now, auditing state first, then I'll install it. Roadmap, cadence task. I'm excited to see if he did it. If he did it, chat. If he did it, chat, we are rolling. We have just accomplished a lot. We still have that list of bugs that we got to take care of, but if he did all of this, we are in the game. All right. So he said, I'm validating what's already been written in the workspace. Then I'm converting it into a committed operating baseline and wiring the live recurring cadences. Nice. I'm switching from setup artifacts to actual execution now. So he's a little wordy. I just need him to get straight to it. And the beautiful thing is, if you're not vibing with this, you can change his archetype, and that'll change how he gets. But what's important to know is like this CEO is always evolving. He has memory. Your whole team has memory, and you can talk to it as you would like a real person, and he'll change and adapt to your working style. So that's the cool thing about these agents inside of Open Enterprise. So it says the start of execution now. I'm tightening the written operating artifacts, adding a task board in the workspace, updating today's memory log, and committing everything so there's a concrete source of truth. All right, let's see what he did. Holy crap. If he did this, guys, this is big. All right, so he completed. He built the operating artifacts. He built the roadmap markdown file, so we can go look at that. Operating systems markdown file, sprint 01, tasks, markdown, status, markdown. So I believe these are all inside of memory. So let's double check. Let's go check his work. Let's go check his work. enterprise CEO. Okay, so none of this is, none of this is in. But it's okay. So we can tell him to do it and we'll see if he does it. So he probably created these, or we'll ask him. But let's go back and see the conversation. All right. He built the operating artifacts, updated durable memory. So it looks like he edited his memory, scheduled recurring cadences, founder sync reminder, team stand up. Okay, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, team stand up at 4, weekly CEO report. So I should be getting that every day on Friday. Strategic block, review block. All right, what I set up structurally, phase roadmap. So our goal is 50K MRR. So that's what my AI agent is. And guys, if you want to start your own company, join the wait list. And you know what? We're gonna do something cool. I think I'm gonna say this live on stream. What we're gonna do is we're gonna build an open enterprise company, one a week or whatever, get it set up and give it away for free to you guys. Now it's free in the sense that we'll give you what we'll do is we'll do something like this. We'll do like what Shopify did. You just pay $1 for a month for 3 months. So it'll be $3. It'll get you going. Essentially, we're eating the cost of those tokens. But anyway, you'll get 3 months, $1, so $3. And then after that 3 months, you'll get charged, right? But this will be for the lower tier. So for this, I think it's the Solopreneur plan. But what I'll do, and you'll watch me live do this, is I'll build out each company. We'll pick an industry and we'll build it out. And then all you need to do in order to be able to have access to this is you have to share, comment, subscribe, like, and depending on if we pick you or not, we're going to check all these things. But comment, and this way, what it'll do is it'll give you 3 months to play around, launch, and really you shouldn't be playing around. If you get 3 months, you should come in here and try and run it up. Get your agents out there, get them working on a business or on a concept. And we're going to do that for you. I'm going to do 7 of them. So I'm going to do 7, right? And I'll probably do 1 a week. So over the course of 7 to 8 weeks, I will probably put out content where we're doing this. We'll build it live. I'll build part of it. Part of the stream will be working on the application. The other part will be building the company live, so you guys could get an understanding of how to think about agentic organizations, right? This is the thought that I want to push into the industry is how are we thinking about agentic organizations? That is the future, right? I see a future, and it's quite bizarre, and we're very early, but you walk around and like you'll see full companies that are just agentic. An agent started it, an agent runs the money, runs the finances, an agent runs the hiring, the firing, and just wait till we add a layer of robots to that, right? You might have full-on delivery companies that are fully robotic, fully agentic. No one's running them. So by hitching your wagon to open enterprise, you'll be ahead of the game, right? You'll be one of the first companies out there that are fully agentic. And we're only going to get better. We're only going to improve on the technology. You are using a product that is built by a product designer. So I have love and passion for this tool. This isn't a get rich quick, launch 15 fucking apps into the app store just to grab a quick buck. I want to build the next, I'm building the next cursor. I'm building the next enterprise, the next powerful AI tool that is going to shape the way future entrepreneurs start businesses. And that is our goal, right? We don't want to build agentic coding tools. We don't want to build AI, assisted social media tools. That shit is so 2025. If you're rocking with me, if you're with the designer Malcolm Camp, we think ahead. We think differently here, and I want you guys to think differently, right? Whatever industry you're in, think differently, um, right? And you can still think differently and create a compelling product that is desired, that is needed. So anyway, I digress. Let's see what our CEO did. So the first thing that comes to mind is we need to make sure that he puts these files inside of these artifacts inside of our memory. And that's the cool thing, is you just have a conversation with him, because I don't know where these are, right? These could be in his code base, and we need to surface these. And what you can also do is set a rule to where any new markdown files or artifacts that he creates go into the memory first. So he said he also updated durable memory. Okay. Schedule recurring cadence. Okay. This is the next thing I want to check. So he scheduled all these. So let's see if these actually exist, or if they are just in the back end. So if they are just in the back end, we've designed it to where they have access to all the tools. And by default, he probably just added in this back end in his heartbeat. But we want to make sure that this stuff is surfaced so we can see. So this is the beautiful thing about Open Enterprise. Okay. So as we can see, right, none of this was added. And that's kind of expected, because I didn't tell him to do this. So mind you, like I said, these agents are brilliant idiots. So what we need to make sure is he has explicit instruction. So a couple things we want to do here is, let's go back to that. And what we're going to do is we're going to eventually get this dictation fixed. So we'll get that fixed immediately. Real quick, if we look back here, we notice that when we told him to do something, he launched this. So this seems to be active. So what this means is something is active in our workroom that he did. So let's see. No, this is what I did. All right. So this is good. Good to know. All right. Let's go back into our boardroom, and let's tell him to, what we need him to do is, so a couple things. We need all artifacts. So we'll say, make sure all artifacts exist inside of our memory tool, not just in your code base or files from here on. So gotta love this. So what I'm asking him is, he made all of these artifacts and we don't have any visibility into them. So we need to make sure that all artifacts exist inside our exists inside our memory tool and not just in your code base or files from here on. And we can give them a little more context. So we'll say, I need visibility Hello. 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 All right, there we go. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna probably end the stream here. I've been going hard for 2 hours. We're currently debugging, working through some of the nuances and the features and functionalities of this application. Um, it's been a blast. Hey, if you've been with me, thanks for joining this stream. Be on the lookout. I have a video dropping on agentic develop or agentic design, so that should be helpful for any of you guys who are working with these agents and you're trying to design something better than AI slop. But I will be back online tomorrow, same time. And it's been a blast. Hopefully, you got some value here. And I will catch you guys tomorrow on the live stream. Tap in with me.